What's up, guys? Wanted to make a video about the major issues that I see in the economy and some concerning things that I see playing out as we speak. So Walmart and Target numbers are way down. We're seeing some of the automotive manufacturers, Toyota, running into issues. We're also seeing Ford running into issues. They just announced they're going to be laying off 3,000 employees. And the way this whole thing starts, and it's again somewhat of a replay of 2007, and then worse, 2008, 2009. And when you have an illiquid market like, let's say, the real estate market, it's going to take a lot more time for that to correct. The crypto market, we'll see, really it has not been through a recession for the most part because Bitcoin was created in the recession and the Genesis block was launched in 2009. So it has really not experienced the full brunt of a true recession. So what's going to be kind of interesting and what we're going to kind of see play out, if this is very much like 2007, which everything I see is very much like that, and maybe even a tick back further, maybe a 2006/7, that you start to have some issues with some of these companies' balance sheets, and then it kind of comes to attention. It's like, oh, Bed Bath and Beyond, this is not good. Like, numbers just went down the drain, and it's like, if they don't make very, very aggressive moves, they could potentially be bankrupt in a couple months or something. So you will have some of these companies run into major issues. And obviously the automotive industry has been very, very disrupted with supply chain issues, as have a lot of industries have been disrupted with that. But what you start to see is the rescinded offers, the hiring freezes. Most of the big tech companies have hiring freezes right now. They're not really actively looking to necessarily bring on more and more employees. They're not expanding. And then what you start to have is then you're going to see the layoffs. And maybe before you see some of the layoffs, if they think that positions are more, crucial and stuff like that, you'll see some of the furlough days. You'll see like people being able to get off on Fridays, which maybe at the time might seem good, but then it's like, well, the person's take home is a little bit less. And then if bills were extremely high, and they were basically running at red line, then they could really be getting choked off. Another thing that I've noticed is a lot of people having second jobs, which that's great, but it is kind of concerning because it's like, okay, does everybody need two jobs just to put a roof over their head? Which, from my assessment, it seems like that's a little bit of what's happening because the housing prices in a lot of these cities have gotten like way too high for your everyday citizen to sort of be able to afford the housing. So if the local population can't afford the housing, you've got an issue. They're going to hold back. Now, cat's out of the bag. A lot of people are a little bit privy to the fact that there was this huge run up, in real estate, and it ran very, very quickly. Because I'm going to use Tucson as an example. Tucson used to go up 4 to 5% appreciation per year on a lot of the real estate in a lot of the neighborhoods. Then when the pandemic hit, 2020, 2021, then you suddenly had stuff going up 15 to 20% annually. So it was climbing a lot faster than you'd expect. So the faster it climbs, the harder it potentially could fall. And cat's out of the bag. People got priced out real quick. And they're like, well, I'm going to wait till it falls. I'm going to wait till it crashes. Now, some people jump back in too early. But then there's other people that are just going to have to wait just out of default because money could get tight, and then they're not going to be in a position to buy. They're not going to have the money for the down payment, and they're not going to, maybe if they got laid off or some other thing happened, then they might not have the ability to basically originate a loan. So that being said, a lot of these properties that are in these cities like Tucson, Phoenix, there's a high percentage of them owned by Zillow or by Opendoor or some other home buyer. And then those companies are aggressively trying to get rid of their inventory, sometimes slashing their prices 4 and 5 times, and sometimes for up to $100,000 discount from what they originally listed it at, and then they're basically willing to take a loss on these to get them off the books, because they think it's going to get worse. And then, on top of that, you've got lots of properties, and whether it was, investors coming out of California or other places, it could have been just, locally, in Arizona, or it could have been investors in Texas buying up second, third, fourth properties, because when there was so much inflation in the economy, they ran after the hard assets to protect their money, because they were like, well, this thing's going to inflate away. And obviously, if they timed it right, they got in, purchased a property, it ran up, and they were potentially able to sell it and make a great gain. But some of those are going to hit the exit, because if things get tight and then they're not able to sort of rent out certain houses for what they thought they were going to, and it's taking a little bit longer to find renters, or their plan to have like multiple Airbnbs and stuff like that, if that plan kind of gets foiled, then ultimately they'll have to kind of start offloading those properties. And then other people see that the prices are going down, so they start panic selling, and they look for the exits, and then you have this flood of inventory. You have this flood of inventory, and we're seeing this huge flood of inventory already happening, to where its numbers potentially higher than it was in 2018, 2019, in these, in these markets like Phoenix. So now that's going to take a long time for it to play out. That could take 3 or 4 years for us to sort of like long tail out, because real estate's not very liquid. For crypto, it's a lot more liquid, and obviously the stock market, stock and options are a lot more liquid as well. People can punch the sell button and panic and get out of there a lot quicker. So that's one of the things that I kind of see happening, is that right now we're kind of in this period of time where we are seeing the hiring freezes, we are seeing the rescinded offers, we are seeing starting to see the layoffs, but we're going to see companies laying off 5,000 to 10,000 people apiece. Huge layoffs, and they've got to go in there and clean house, and release themselves of a lot of those obligations to just kind of run a leaner ship, so they can kind of get through this, what they see is coming up. Otherwise, they'll get to a point where they can't make payroll, and they're not going to have enough of a cash buffer, so to get through that. So that being said, I'm just seeing a lot of signs that this is basically a replay of kind of your 07, 08, and then on into your 09 kind of scenarios. I just don't really see any way around it, particularly now. Are there areas in the country that probably aren't going to sell off as hard? I think there are, in various kind of niche markets, or niche markets, whatever you want to call them, that I think will kind of sort of continue maybe a trend of people wanting to buy vacation spots there, or sort of it's like this up and coming city. And one of them that I'm going to mention, it's a very small city, but Marquette, Michigan seems to be kind of like the next Traverse City, Michigan, where people want to go there, and it's kind of this summer sort of like vacation spot, and it's on Lake Superior and everything. And so and it's kind of this up and coming trendy little city or something that's going up, but that city's only like 50 or 60,000. But maybe it balloons up, and then it gets to like maybe 100,000, becomes kind of like a little bit more of a vacation destination as time goes on. Other cities that are maybe a little bit bigger, and it's hard to say if they'll continue the trend, because the numbers were already pretty high, but like stuff like Bend, Oregon, I don't know if it could continue its trend. It seems like there is money there, but a lot of these places like Boise, Idaho, Phoenix, Arizona, Austin, Texas, a lot of those places are just totally overheated, and I just see it collapsing. I would say especially with like Phoenix Metro, Tucson Metro, because there was enough land where you could still build like new builds and just pop up these these cookie cutter track homes. And then you could say, well, what about Dallas? What about Dallas Fort Worth? It looks like Fort Worth is in a lot more trouble than kind of that north of Dallas, where you're talking like Allen, Frisco, Plano, That area was growing a lot more, and it seems like that, maybe it can sustain some of that. Maybe it does drop 15% or something like that, but it might kind of make it through. Frisco is very, very diverse. Like one time I was at the YMCA, like actually in Plano. I went to the one in Plano, and there was a whole cricket match going on. So there's a lot of people from India. There's a lot of people coming in from various places in the world. So it's not just kind of the conservatives or something leaving California. It's people from all over the world looking at the opportunity in the north of Dallas area. Again, Frisco, Plano, Allen, McKinney, those kind of places could hold up. So I just see a lot of concerning things with the U.S. economy, and this is just my take, is that you're going to see tens of thousands of layoffs here in the next like 6 months, where it'd be like a company like a Caterpillar or a John Deere or a General Motors or something like that going to be like, well, we're laying off 15,000 people. It'll be like insane layoffs like that. And people get shook, and then they start looking at Zillow, start worrying about the equity in their home. And as more and more comps come in at lower and lower prices, they start to feel kind of that pressure that they're not as rich equity wise as they were 6 months ago, a year ago. And they start to get very, very worried, and they start clenching up their spending more and more. But we're already seeing that with the retailers. Walmart and Target have already announced that their sales have been way, way down. So like literally like cut in half kind of thing. So that being said, where are you guys seeing it in the economy where it's getting hit the worst? Or where do you think there's potentially buying opportunities after we get a little bit more of a blow off in real estate? Anyway, guys, follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steam, and Twitter. See you guys later.